after doing something so extraordinary, and you also have made a huge difference in women's lives around the world because you are extraordinarily philanthropic. $40 million worth of product and monetary donations to people that are struggling with cancer. And what is next for you?
Mm.
Because you are right now in the middle of figuring out on this next leg of the journey called life what your purpose is
Mhm.
and what your next thing is going to be. What tools are you using or how are you thinking about it? And it's really important topic because so many people, particularly after the last 3 years, have had a profound life change thrust on them.
Yes.
And they're looking ahead at an open road, wondering what their purpose is going to be, what they're going to do. Can you just speak to that person for a minute about
Mhm.
how you're going about figuring it out?
Yeah. So one thing I just want to remind everyone too, Mel, because I think people put so much pressure on themselves that their purpose has to be their job or their
Hmm.
next job. And a lot of times we can be doing a job that's fine. And maybe for family reasons, we need that health coverage and we need that paycheck and your purpose can be found in the things you do outside of that, right? There's a lot of ways to listen to that knowing and your gut and then when it feels right, you know that's aligned with who you're born to be and
Mm-hmm.
how you're born to show up in the world. And so for me right now, there's that famous saying, just because you can, should you, right? There's
Mm.
a big part of me now with all these, could I go launch a bunch of businesses? Yes. Right. And what I feel drawn to is literally because here's the deal. Yes, I've built $1 billion business. Yes, I have other companies that I invest in.
You
But
also are married and you have two beautiful children,
yes, a
and
2-year-old and a
you're
4-year-old.
incredibly devoted to your family.
Hmm. Well, and here's the thing is like that's all part of my story, but when I look at my real story, it meaning the part that ties deeply to my purpose, like my real story is a girl who went from not believing in herself to
Mm.
learning how to. And so when I wake up in the morning and I think about the things I've done so far, the things I hope for my kids for and how I built $1 billion business, it was really through seeing women, helping them see themselves
Mm.
and believe in themselves and believe they are worthy and enough. And that's what fires me up every morning. So when I think about what I'm stepping into next,
Yeah.
I wrote Believe It, which is about my book about how to go from underestimated to unstoppable, donated all the proceeds. I'm donating all the proceeds from that 100%. I funded leadership.
Hold on. Let's just underscore that. So she writes a New York Times bestseller, donates all the proceeds from the book
Yeah.
to nonprofits, just donates them.
Yeah. And the book is just,
It's
from,
incredible.
thank you.
It's like a little manual that you should have on your bedside table because Jamie will be smiling at you
Yes.
and you'll see that you're not alone, that we're in this together. And her example of learning how to go from doubting herself to believing in herself is the journey that each and every one of us is on.
Yeah.
And so you're kind of in this soup of knowing that this is the area where you want to focus the impact, but you're
Yeah.
not being a very, very, very good friend of yours. I know that you're not, it's still a fuzzy target, so to speak, as
Mm,
our friend Dean would say, it's a fuzzy target. If somebody kind of has a sense that there's something more, but they don't quite have they haven't had that aha moment yet that you
yeah.
had almost 14 years ago sitting on that television set.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make makeup and I'm gonna bring real women in. I'm gonna show my skin and I'm gonna
Yeah.
solve this problem. I'm gonna make people think that they're beautiful because they are beautiful no matter what their body. And you did it. You did it. But if you're in the soup and you
Yeah.
don't have the vision yet, is there an exercise or something that you would recommend that we all do while we're waiting for that clarity and that epiphany to strike?
Yeah, 2 things. 1, waiting for it to be perfect can be the lowest vibration, biggest excuse,
Mm.
number 1 reason why people just never try and never get started. So I think it's rare to ever have complete clarity, like, this is exactly perfect for, and that's why, I think 2 things. I think just taking a step and seeing how it feels is good, tuning into your knowing. I also think, Dean, so you mentioned our friend Dean who was saying it's a fuzzy target. He was saying something to me recently about, almost like when you're about to aim a bow and arrow and you're about to let go of the arrow, he's like, you can aim and turn it and twist it a few times before you let go of the arrow. It's okay to wait a little bit and just make sure you're going to aim at the right thing.
Mm.
And so this year, for example, I've kind of been doing that. I've been saying, how do things feel? I have the gift and blessing of being here with you right now.
How does this feel?
Feels amazing.
So does this mean
I love
you're going
you.
to do a talk show?
Maybe you could teach me all the ropes, Mel, and then yeah.
Hardly. I am a failed talk show host.
Okay. Don't even.
That is true. My talk show got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because
I can tell you why. Go ahead.
well, I was going to apply the lessons from Professor Purpose, but I'd like to hear you tell me why.
I think our steps are ordered. Why? I think because you're going to own all of what you're doing and make it so much bigger than anyone else who owned it could have made it.
Mm-hmm.
So, by that definition, I think you're the most successful talk show host. That's the first thing.
At least in the podcast.
But no, I think it's all going to be the same. I think a show is a show. You know what I mean? The world's changing so rapidly.
Mm-hmm.
And I love too that you can do this show on your terms,
It's
right?
true.
You can do it on your terms. And that's why it is so huge, because it's on your terms.
Well, like you, and maybe this is one of the reasons why we have become such dear friends in such a short period of time. And I often say on the show that I truly believe that the best years of your life and the best friendships that you'll have are on the road ahead.
Mm.
But a lot of the reason why we connected so profoundly, even though we are different in many, many ways,
Yeah.
is that it goes back to the Denny's waitress. Like at my core, I am still the waitress making money, waiting tables at the Red Rooster Tavern on Scenic Drive in North Muskegon, Michigan. Same as you, stalling because the fryer has now broken and the fried perch is not coming out. And I'm talking to the tourists from Chicago and I'm treating everybody kindly. And I know that all I want to do is impact people's lives that are just got their head down and they don't feel very seen or heard. And I want to make them know that they have it within them to tap into this incredible power inside them to create whatever they want in life.
Yes.
And it starts with believing
Yes.
that you can and having somebody like you on who has demonstrated that is really important for people to hear.
On that topic of friendship, I love so much that you are the friend that people need to your audience. And what I mean by that, and I'm honored to be the friend for this episode with you to everyone. And what I mean by that, Mel, is I think you and I love each other for who we authentically are. The Denny's waitress, the Red Rooster waitress, right? And we also are friends that help pull each other into who we're becoming.
Yes.
And I think so often, and that's why I love, and your show also, as you know, of course, but I just want to call it out, that your show can be this for people who feel like, how do I find those friends that help pull me into my future? Because so often the people around us, while they might mean really, really well and love us dearly, pull us into our past, or for their own comfort zone, want us to stay the person we were or are. And it's so important, because we're talking about purpose, to try and add friends to your circle who truly want the best for you, not just what they think is the best for them in you, but want the best for you. And you do that for me. I do that for you.
Yes.
This show, your show, I know does that for people as well.
Yes.
And so honored to be part of that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just highlight one final thing, and then I have a surprise to tell you listening to us right now. Yes, we have a surprise for you. It's really exciting with Professor Purpose over here. And I'm having like a menopause moment where like the drawbridge is open in my brain, and now the drawbridge is not closing and connecting the dots on this profound thing that I wanted to say. So let me see if I can
Everything you say
order
is
this.
profound.
Hardly, but I appreciate you saying that. I think one of the things that I've learned, and it took me a long time to learn this, is that there is so much success and happiness to go around.
Mm,
And when you lift other people up
yeah.
and you reach out for help, that your success comes faster and it's richer,
Yes.
both emotionally and in terms of monetarily. And I just remembered what I wanted to say, and it's this. And it goes back to purpose. It goes back to that knowing and staying connected to your intention and this unique thing that you have to give to the world. It is not only your responsibility in life to stay connected to your knowing, it is your responsibility to advocate for it, because only you have seen it in your heart and mind. Of course, your family says no. They don't even know what you're talking about, because they only know the person that you've been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the investor is going to say no. Why? Because they only know what they know. Your knowing is yours.
Yeah.
And you have to stay connected to it, and you have to keep describing it or advocating for it or explaining it to people so that they can see it too. And it's not until you demonstrate what you see in your own heart and mind by continuing to walk toward it, continuing to talk about it, continuing to believe in it, that it will become a reality. And that's why people say no, because it's your knowing, not theirs. And so in a weird way, a ton of no's or a lot of friction or bumping up against things as you're trying, and you can't understand, why don't people get this? Why isn't this working? It's because it's your knowing, not theirs. I've been saying it a lot, that every single day when you wake up, you can decide who you're going to be. And the reason why it's so important to wake up and either consciously choose, decide, or set an intention about who you're going to be. The reason why this is so important to start doing every single morning is because if you don't consciously decide who you're going to be, your habits, your old patterns, and the stress of the day will decide it for you. You see, human beings, this was so liberating when I learned that human beings are nothing more than a ton of patterns. We learn patterns from other people, and then we repeat those patterns. And so if you find that you're stuck in a rut, or you're overwhelmed, or you're in a negative place, and you are really tired of being there, the first step to getting the life that you want is you must wake up every morning and interrupt the patterns and the automatic nature of how you go through your day, just going through the motions. And the simplest way to do that is to wake up and set an intention. So when I say decide who you're going to be, what I'm talking about is, what mood are you going to be in? How are you going to behave? What are you going to show up and do today? Are you going to be motivated? Are you going to be patient? Are you going to be present? Are you going to be grateful? Those are decisions that you can make. And when you wake up in the morning and you set an intention, today I am going to see the good. Today I am going to be optimistic. Today I'm going to turn off the television when I get home. I'm going to spend an hour on my dreams. When you wake up and set an intention and you decide who you're going to be today and how you're going to show up and what it's going to feel like to be you, you take control of the day. And you give yourself an anchor to keep coming back to, so that when something stresses you out, or you catch yourself thinking negative things, or you get a text or somebody doesn't respond to you and you start to feel discouraged, come back to your intention. Today I said I would be optimistic. Today I said I would see the good. Today I said no matter how tired I am, when I get home tonight, I'm going to find an hour for me. That's what I mean, Night Queen Bee, when I say decide who you're going to be today. And that's why I think it's so powerful when you wrap your mind around the fact that every single day you get to wake up and decide who you're going to be today. And it's the first step in taking control and creating the life you want. Mistake number one is that you think passion and purpose are the same thing. I hear those two words thrown around so much and swapped in and out of sentences that I need to say it is a major mistake to think that passion and purpose are the same thing. Because the fact is, they're completely different. And the other fact is, you need both passion and purpose in order to live an incredible life that you deserve to live. So let me unpack my simple way of thinking about passion versus purpose. So passion is something you feel. I think about passion as another word for energy. Passion is something you feel. Purpose, on the other hand, is something you do. Purpose is something you do. I'm going to distinguish passion and purpose at a secondary level. You ready? So passion is something you feel. Passion describes the energy that you feel. And the other cool thing about passion is for you. Passion is simply anything that makes you feel more energized in life. I'll give you an example. And I want you to think about what is something that brings passion into your life. And as you think of the thing that brings passion into your life, share it. Because when you share something that you're thinking, it always ignites and empowers and inspires somebody else that's watching this too. So for example, passion is for me. Passion is what I feel. Passion is the stuff that brings energy into my life. So here's my passion. You ready? I love to garden. I love to walk into a flower store. I love to savor a fabulous cup of coffee. I love and am passionate about watching stand-up comedy. I am passionate about hiking. I am passionate about, I'm actually passionate about the polar plunge challenge and doing cold exposure therapy. I'm passionate about getting together with our kids. I'm passionate about walks on the beach. I am energized by making plans to go somewhere. I am energized by cooking. All of these things that I'm listing are things that I do or things that I think about that infuse me with this energy. That's what passion is. And you need that in order to live an awesome life. And passion is so simple to bring into your life because passion is literally just about getting intentional, about filling your time with things that bring you energy. It kind of makes sense, right? That's all that passion is. And now that you understand this simple idea of what passion is, that it's something you feel, it's for you, it brings energy into your life, you now understand why people say, "Oh, I'm living my passion." I would never use that sentence because I think the accurate thing is I feel passionate about my work as a doctor. What they're saying when somebody says that is they're saying, I feel energized by my work. And if you are one of the 89% of people that feel stuck right now, here's what I know. If you look at your day-to-day and your week-to-week life, you are not doing anything that naturally brings energy into your life, positive energy. And a simple way to flip the switch and bring more passion into your life is to become intentional about making time to do the things. Like Marianne, she's passionate about running, designing, chilling with her friends, connecting with people, helping connect people in business, nature, sunrises, so many things. Even writing the things, did you guys notice? Even writing down what brings energy into your life actually makes you feel more energized. So that's what passion is. Purpose is something you do, and purpose is what you do for the world. Purpose is this anchor that you attach yourself to. And it is the thing that you do for the world. It's how you show up for other people. It is the reason why you're doing things. It's sort of like, I'm going to give you another example. We've got the anchor, because when you're connected to why you do what you do, you will not feel adrift, okay? But I'm going to give you another example about purpose. So have any of you ever had a situation where you're like near a body of water and you either have your dog or somebody else's dog, and that dog runs into the water or the pond or the river or the muddy stream or the swimming pool, and then they come out and they shake, 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 shake all over you, and the water spreads everywhere, right? I also feel that purpose is that stuff that naturally shakes off you and hits other people. So I, for example, in the exchange that you just saw with me talking with Brendan, when Brendan's around me and he's like the dog shaking wet, what you get hit with is his purpose of serving, right? It just flies from the guy because it's what he gives to the world. And when you understand that purpose is just why you're doing something and how you're showing up for it, and the way in which you uniquely do it, that's your purpose. That's it. Passion is for you. Purpose is what you give to other people. So mistake number one is that you think they're the same thing. You use the words interchangeably. You're not quite thinking about the difference and why both are so important. Now let's jump into mistake number two. Mistake number two, I've sort of hinted at already. Mistake number two is you think you're just going to bump into it. You think that purpose or passion just kind of happens. That's not true. The biggest thing that people don't realize, myself included, is that it's something you have to be super intentional about. That when you wake up every day, you have an opportunity to bring passion into your life. You have an opportunity to decide how you're going to show up with a sense of purpose today. And this lack of intentionality is the reason why you feel stuck. It's the reason why you feel adrift. If you're on autopilot, if you're just going through the motions, if you're accepting good enough, if you're just barely surviving, you're not anchored to anything. And you're not going to just sort of float into what's meant for you. You need to have what I call a wake-up moment. You got to have a wake-up moment and go, I'm stuck and I'm sick of it. And being stuck, by the way, is a great thing. It's a wake-up moment because you just woke up and were like, you know what? I'm not feeling connected to something deeper here. I need to fix this. And so mistake number two is thinking you're just going to bump into it, that somehow staying on autopilot, blah, 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 blah. That's not going to happen. You got to make a decision that you're going to become intentional about infusing your day-to-day life with more passion, and that you're going to become intentional about aligning your focus, your attention, and your actions on something that you value. That's how it's going to happen. You and I both have a large number of people that come to us for advice. And my experience with the millions of people that follow us is the same that you're experiencing in your clinical practice and in your social media following, which is the majority of people do not know what their values are, do not know what their goals are not sure what their purpose is. And so let's start with values first. Is there a tool or a simple resource or something that you would point people to help them sort out what they value?
Yes. In fact, in the book, there's a tool to do just that. And we look at it in 4 circles. So what are your biological values. You know, what do you value about your body? What are your psychological values? What do you value about your mind? What are your social values and your spiritual values? And there's, I think, 36 different values. And so I want you to think about the people in your life you admire the most, and then see which of those values fit that you can adopt. One of my favorite is, you know, it's public knowledge that I've been Miley Cyrus's doctor for a long time. And she has struggled with anxiety. She actually talks about it, but her value is showing up. Her value is following through. So even if she gets anxious and feels like not going on, she always goes on. And some people may have seen how hard this last week was for her. Her plane got hit by lightning. And then one of her friends, the drummer for Foo Fighters, died from a drug overdose. And it was a disaster for her. But yet she showed up because that's one of her values.
Yeah. Awesome. Because I think that kind of trying to figure that out for yourself, it's not something that goes like that. You got to do a little digging. And so I'm thrilled that You Happier has some resources for people to help you start to really think about it, because it's important. And what about purpose? How do you help people start to think about what their purpose is?
So I have a wonderful exercise in the book, and it's based on like 5 simple questions, like who are you? What's your name? So Daniel, what do you love to do? I love looking at brains. I love changing people's lives. I love that. Who do you do it for? I do it for myself, right? I want to have a better brain. And I do it for my family, and I do it for our patients and our community. And what do these people want or need from you? And well, they want to suffer less. And ultimately, my purpose is to help people suffer less. And in the process, it helps me feel connected, feel validated, and I do the right thing, because if you're not authentic, you suck as a messenger. So
I love that.
I have
Let me
people
just
go
recap
through
it, 'cause
this.
those are super simple. Who are you? So what's your name? What do you love to do? Who do you do it for? Why do these folks come to you? And what was the final question?
What do those people want or need from you? So that's 4.
What are those?
And 5 is, how do they change as a result of what you do? Like Laura Cleary and I, she's a comedian. We did this on Facebook. And ultimately, her purpose in life was to give people a little dose of happiness every day. And I mean, it's like so simple, but you feel so purposeful. And
even if you're
people
not
are happier.
happy, and even if you're not happy in your life, you still know what you love to do. You can look back to times in your life where maybe you felt happier or more fulfilled or more connected or more energized, and you can remember the things that you love to do, correct? And is that how somebody who's not happy right now is reminded that the answers are there?
Well, and often they're focused on themselves rather than focused outward on how they can be helpful. Because when we get too wrapped up in ourselves, we become more vulnerable to depression.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. I want to talk about the fact that in your new book, you've got 7 questions that you recommend that people ask themselves. Let's go through those 7 questions. And when you ask these questions, what do these questions do for you?
Well, you know, I've been working on helping people change for a long time, and I realize the more effective I am, the simpler I get. If I can make it really simple. And I worked with BJ Fogg. Do you know BJ?
Hold on one second. I need to hug my son because I'm leaving today for 2 weeks and I'm not going to see him.
That'll make you happy.
So happy. Oh my God, I love you. I love you. I love you. I love you. Have an awesome scrimmage. Say hi to Dr. Amen and everybody on the internet.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
I'll talk to you later.
I
Dave.
will. Call me.
Okay. Bye, dude.
Bye.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so the 7 questions, you were talking about BJ Fogg. And
You know BJ Fogg?
I don't know BJ Fogg personally, but I'm aware of the work and the research. Yes.
Oh, you would love him because so much of what you teach is a tiny habit. It's super simple, and that's why it's so effective. And so I worked with him for 6 months to create tiny habits for brain health. And ultimately, it's these 7 questions. Number 1, am I doing something today that makes me uniquely happy based on my brain type? 2, is this good for my brain or bad for it? That's the mother tiny habit. You want to be happy, you got to get a healthier brain.
So you asked the second one kind of throughout the day. Is this good for my brain? Turning on this, flipping through social media for the next 45 minutes. Is this actually good for my brain? Obviously not. Put the phone down. Okay.
Right. Or what you're going to go drink, or what you're going to eat, or what you're going to smoke, or, you know, the interaction you're going to have with your spouse. Is this good for my brain or bad for it? You just have to know the list. 3, am I supplementing my unique brain every day? Because based on your brain type, there are different supplements for the persistent person versus the cautious person. 4, do I choose food I love that loves me back? 5, is it true? Right? Whatever thought pops up in your head, is it true? So really become good at just questioning the nonsense, the noise that goes through your head. And one of my favorite questions, this is a sub question of 5. What went well today? I put myself to bed every night with, I say a prayer, and then I go, what went well today? And I start at the beginning of the day, and I go, usually I'm asleep by lunchtime, but I love that exercise because it's like a treasure hunt every day. That, because, you know, you and I are both busy, and so great things happen, and we often gloss over them, where I'm like, oh my God, that was so cool. Like, my daughter is going to move closer to me, which makes me happy.
Now I'm triggered because I'm in Vermont here, sitting here thinking I'm never going to see my family again. So
which is a lie. Which is a lie. So you and I can talk about that. You'll see them anytime you want to see them, right? And children tend to follow, in my experience. But she actually found the bear I bought her the day she was born. Oh. And the music box still worked. And she sent me the picture, and it made me teary. But then, you know, I'm busy. I didn't think about it again. But boy, did I think about it putting myself to sleep, because it sets up your dreams to be more positive.
Wow.
And then 6 is, am I reinforcing behaviors I like in others today, or behaviors I dislike by what I pay attention to? And 7 is, does it fit? Does my behavior fit the values, purpose, and goals I have for my life? Because you have to tell your brain what you want, or it'll give you what society wants, which is consuming junk food and watching, you know, trash on social media.
Well, what I love about all these questions is that kind of the first one that was, am I doing something for myself that makes me uniquely happy? And the one about what went well today are things that begin and end your day. And the rest of them help you re-anchor to the power inside you to align what you're doing throughout the day so that you are happier, more supported, and more aligned with your values. So these are tools you can use all day long, these questions, and keep coming back to them to help you stay present, correct?
Correct. I mean, and to help you moving toward joy. And I actually start the book with the idea that happiness is not frivolous, that it's a moral obligation because of how you impact other people. If you've ever been raised by an unhappy parent or married to an unhappy spouse, I guarantee you those people will say, yes, happiness is an ethical issue. And so people think of it as fluff And this isn't fluff. I think Buddha said, happiness is the way. It's the purpose in life. And hedonism is actually the enemy of happiness, because hedonism wears out your pleasure centers in your brain. And, I've been blessed to see some really amazing stars. And you just saw how fame trashed their brain.
Right.
I'm in Justin Bieber's docuseries Seasons, and he's just a perfect example of a talented kid who fame nearly cost him his life. It's not hedonism we're after. And one of my favorite techniques, I think you'll like, is looking for the micro moments of happiness. What's the smallest thing that happened today that made the biggest difference for you? And I love
it, honestly, the hug with my son. Because I'm going
and
on.
Those things happen a lot, but people don't pay attention to them. And so you hug them an extra second longer, and you're getting dopamine and oxytocin and serotonin. I talk about the chemicals of happiness as well.
Any decision can be divided into what do I need to do versus how and when do I need to do it. For the what, that is intuition. And by intuition, I use the word energy. And the way to answer any question for yourself personally that you don't immediately know the answer to is to ask this question. Does it energize and expand my life, or does it shrink it? If it energizes and expands your life, the answer is hell yes. You should absolutely do it. That is what you should do. If the decision shrinks you or it deflates you, then the answer is hell no, you should not do it. This is an incredible tool to use in deal making, by the way, because I'm in the middle of negotiating a massive media deal at the moment, and it's something I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
And when you're negotiating for something you really want, whether it's somebody that you're dating or it's a salary or whatever, in my case it's a massive media deal, you can get really ego driven, right?
Right.
And you can start to get very attached to the deal or to the person or to the whatever. But you have to stop and ask yourself, is this deal or this person actually expanding and energizing me? Or are there aspects of it that deplete and shrink me? And if there's any aspect of it that depletes and shrinks, you either have to change that aspect of the deal or the relationship structure, or you have to say no. Period.
Right.
If you decide that, it energizes me and I really want to do it, then that's what you want. Next, you've got to think about the outcome, which is how and when you make it happen.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
Cool.
At what point did you find your purpose? Because for me, I'm an entrepreneur for 15 years, and most of my career, I chased the money. I because of my upbringing, you talked a lot about how we were conditioned growing up, and I always felt I had something to prove to my dad. I always,
Was he really successful or why?
No, he wanted me to go to Princeton. He wanted me to be this smart kid. He wanted me to play basketball. He wanted me to, he worked at Prudential, and that was the first company I knew of, and he would just always talk about Prudential, and how successful that was, and how he wanted that for me. He wanted me to become successful. He wanted me to become highly educated. He wanted me to become the best in my class. He wanted me to make high honor roll.
And did you?
No.
Well, was it?
But I tried. I always was trying to prove.
Or was there a little bit of you resented the pressure, and so you acted out and didn't do it? Because clearly, come on. You founded Elite Daily.
Yeah.
Everything you invest in goes and is a huge success. You're a really smart guy when you want to put the fucking work in. Mm-hmm. And so there was an aspect about your personality that I already know that you don't like being told what to do.
Yes. For sure. Oh, forget it. If I feel like I'm put into a box, I'll freak out. Like I need that freedom, that flexibility, for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
And so one of the things for you to think about personally and as an entrepreneur is that your dad gave you the greatest gift in the world, because when you realize anytime that you're in a box that felt like what it was like to be with your dad, because he had aspirations for you that looked a certain way. This is not about making your dad right or wrong.
Right.
It's about what you respond to energetically as a human being.
Right.
No deal that you ever do and no relationship that you are ever in will ever work if you feel like somebody is setting the expectations for you. Full stop.
Yeah.
So it's not that, like, the new story for you, what happened is your dad had high aspirations, you didn't achieve them, so you as a kid started telling yourself a story that you got to prove something to your dad, right? What I'm here to tell you is the new chapter for you is recognizing that what you learned from your father is that you're successful when you define the expectations for yourself. And but for your dad, you wouldn't have learned that.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It took me so long to realize that. I can't even tell you how many times I really felt I had to prove something to him because I didn't meet those other expectations. And I finally, I mean, it just took me to getting to my 30s to realize I don't have anything to prove, and that I define what success really is for me in my life and what makes me happy. And he loves me no matter what, both my parents do. And I'm blessed for the mentorship that he gave me, as well as my mother. But I feel that in my early 20s, when I first felt that school wasn't for me, and I decided to drop out my first semester, I went all in to trying to figure out the internet and the online business and all those things. I chased the money for a really, really long time, and I always was creative. I loved creating content and marketing and all those things, but I don't think I ever really thought about like my purpose. And I think that a lot of us in our 20s, we really don't. But I think now there's so much content on social media now.
I don't think you should.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think you should. So here's the thing. I think you should chase what energizes you. Everyone talks about passion, legacy, purpose, blah, 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 blah. The one word to pay attention to is energy.
I love that.
That's it. Let's simplify this.
Okay.
So whatever energizes you, naturally expands you, feels like possibility, is exciting to do. It may be scary, that doesn't matter. It has to do with how it makes you feel.
Right.
When you were in your 20s, money made you feel good. It expanded you. It energized you. Chasing the money, that was the game. That was your passion. That was your There's nothing fucking wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. And I particularly want to say that to the women that are watching.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Because it is socialized into women not to chase success like that, not to go after the money. And so if what energizes you is amassing wealth, go for it. But and the reason why I say that is because people talk about the word passion or purpose.
Right.
And the truth is, it's not a person, place, or a thing. It's not. It is the feeling of being expanded and energized.
Right.
If you're pursuing your passion, it means that you wake up every day and are energized. So instead of trying to think, what's my purpose? What's my passion? What's my purpose? What's my passion? Fuck, I don't know.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking like that, I want you instead to ask yourself, what could I do today that would energize me? What energizes me? If it's making money, figure out how to make money.
Right.
If it is making a difference, figure out how to make a difference. It could be in any single shape or form. But if it energizes you, that's what you need to follow. And what happens is that passion also, because it's energy, it dissipates over time. Because when you first start making money, it's fucking thrilling.
Yeah.
Thrilling. There is nothing more exhilarating than making your first million.
Yeah.
Nothing more exhilarating. Yeah. But what happens is once you learn how to do something once, you can do it over and over again. And so it starts to become routine,
Yeah.
which means it's no longer energizing.
Right.
Which is why every entrepreneur out there goes through the mode of chasing the money, and then you hit the money that you need to make, and then you're like, I'm not fulfilled. What's my purpose? I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I went through that.
I need to find the light. You know, I did the, everybody does.
Yeah.
And it's because you were energized by the money, and now you're not.
Yeah.
Now you got to be energized by the next thing.
Yeah.
And for you, it's clearly service. It's clearly making a difference. It's empowering others. And so when I look back on my trajectory,
Yeah.
the thing that energizes me is making people feel like they matter.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It is giving people hope in a situation where they don't have it. It is shining a light on the path forward when somebody feels stuck in darkness. And now that I know that those moments are the things that make me get up out of bed and energize me, I can trace back all the way to the moment of being a public defender in Manhattan, 22 years old, straight out of law school,
Yeah.
and defending a kid who, and I met him for the first time. He had been arrested. I met him during night court in New York City. I was a brand new young attorney, and this kid had been arrested, and he had been arrested for throwing a champagne bottle in the middle of Times Square on New Year's Eve, and it had come down on a woman and had sliced her face open.
Oh my God.
And he had been ID'd and pointed at by her friends as allegedly the kid who had done it. And he was a junior in high school. And he had gotten in trouble. I think he had like a juvie record for, you know, like some petty bullshit shoplifting or something when he was 12, but that was it. High school kid on his way to go to junior college, mom working hard, terrified, absolutely terrified. And I met him because he had been arrested, and you know, the family couldn't afford a lawyer, and I was a legal aid criminal defense attorney, and I was assigned to represent him. And I remember walking back into the cages behind the judge's bench, because if you look at a judge in a courtroom, there's two doors, typically, one to the right, one to the left. One of those doors leads to the hallway, which is what all the court officers and administrative workers walk to, that's behind the court system. The other one leads to cages that are behind the judge, which is where they hold the inmates as they're waiting to come in and get arraigned, or they're waiting, you know, for the trial. And so I walked back there and I called out this kid's name, and I just remember him asking, is my mom out there? Is my mom out there? And I said, look, I'm gonna tell you something. I'm gonna make you two promises. I'm gonna get you out of here tonight, and I'm gonna do everything I can to, because he was like, I didn't do it, I didn't do it, I didn't do it. I swear to God, I didn't do it. And I promised him, I said, I'm gonna get you out of here tonight, and I'm gonna do everything I possibly can to clear your name. And I remember the relief in his face, and he said, you believe me? I said, of course I believe.
Gave him hope.
Holy shit. That moment, my heart blew open. And it's those moments where you give somebody hope, where you show them the path forward, where you're stronger and clearer in that moment than they are, so now they can be.
Yeah.
And that's what I show up and do every single day. And I've only become more emboldened because we have a platform.
Yeah.
And what the platform on social media and on the speaking circuit, and now as you know, an author whose work is in 36 languages.
It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And that's happened in 16 months. The book has been translated in 16 months.
And the podcast, I'm like, you got to number one, freaking like that, like lightning.
Well, yeah, we did. It's incredible. Behind that, you know, like I'm just thinking about what it took to get to number one like that. It took 10 fucking years of schlepping and failing and being a public defender and doing other things. And so...
What was the shift? I'm really curious about what was the shift for you that went from criminal defense attorney to saying...
None of it was conscious. None of it was conscious. And that's why I say follow the energy.
Yeah.
Because If my husband hadn't gotten into a business school up in Boston, I'd still be in New York City making $19,000 a year as a legal aid attorney. That's what I'd be doing, because I loved being a fighter for people that didn't have people fighting for them. I loved that. And I still do that today.
Right.
The people that our audience are people who want to do better. It's people that want to be happier, people that want to do more for their families, people that want to pursue their dreams, and I am fighting. I'm fighting the bullshit for you.
Yeah.
I'm fighting your self-doubt, I'm fighting your anxiety, I'm fighting your excuses, I'm fighting the stories that you've had since childhood, and I show up every day to remind you of who you are.
Right.
And to remind you that you can do this if you put in the work. And if you give up your timeline, and if you're good to people, and if you're positive, and if you cheer for other people. And the fact that our platform has grown so fast and our engagement is so big makes me better at what I do, because we literally hear from 1,000 people a day who are either struggling or who have used some small thing that we've said and it has improved their lives or their relationships. And that makes me not feel
It gives you energy.
It gives me energy. Thank you. It doesn't go here, it goes here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And it's also why I'm so intellectually curious, because if one 5-second rule tool can help the millions of people that it's helped, imagine if we keep going and digging and sharing other simple things.
Right.
Imagine the number of people that we can empower and help and encourage and help them make their own lives better. Whatever it is that you're doing right now, it's leading to the thing that you dream of doing. And you're not going to progress until you get the skills and the experience that you need at the level that you're at. I guarantee you, even if you're working at a front desk job at a local gym, you're learning customer service. You need to learn that kind of stuff before you can launch your own business. For me, in order to be an incredible speaker that can command a stage with 3,000 people in the audience for an entire hour, I first had to learn how to have the courage to speak up and have hard conversations in my life. Then I had to learn how to speak up in a small meeting. Then I had to learn how to speak up in a church basement. Then I had to learn how to give a little bit of a talk at a brown bag luncheon. Then I had to learn how to stand on a slightly bigger stage. So if you're frustrated with where you are right now because you've got these big dreams and you think you're really far away, here's one way that you can continue to be patient and you can milk wherever you're at to help you build the skills and the experience that you need as you climb toward the thing that you want. Ask yourself, what is it that I am learning? What's the skill that I'm honing by sitting here at this front desk job or driving this Uber or Lyft vehicle? What am I learning that I'm going to take with me on my journey to do that next big thing? Because I guarantee you there's something in the minutia of what you're doing right now that you are developing an expertise and a skill around that you're going to need as you launch yourself towards the next thing. But I'm telling you, patience, and be very, very mindful of the skills and the experiences that you're learning right now. You know, one of the other reasons why I've become so successful in the speaking business is 10 years ago I was hosting a radio show that nobody listened to, and you know what? I was horrible, absolutely horrible. But what was I learning? I was learning what not to talk about, what not to sound like. I was making the mistakes that I needed to make in order to learn how to be a better storyteller, in order to learn how to react to callers live. And that was a necessary and critical skill that I was developing 10 years ago that is essential to my success now. So I'm telling you, be patient, be intentional about what you're learning, and ring whatever situation, whatever work you're doing right now, ring it out for the experience and the skills and the expertise that you're going to carry forward with you. Hey everybody, so this is an amazing question from Alan. Alan's a 17-year-old guy who wants advice about friends, and he writes, I'm 17 and this has been going on since I was 12. When I'm with cooler or popular guys, I feel inferior and worthless, which affects me. And weirdly, I try so hard to impress them and be like them like a chameleon. I try to avoid them, but I feel left out. Whatever I do, I feel sad or useless. What can I do in order to overcome this? So Alan, this is a question and a problem that plagues all of us. All of us. And it would be a dream come true for me if I could help you figure this out by the time you hit 20, instead of suffering like I did. I literally only started to figure this out a couple years ago. You don't have to hang out with people you don't like. There's a pro-life tip for everybody. You don't have to. One of the things that is a massive indication that you're hanging out with the wrong group of people is that you don't feel comfortable being yourself. The second you try to be somebody else, or you feel like a chameleon just to fit in, you are trying to fit in with the wrong group. Relationships only work when you can be the real you. People thrive on energy. That's what drives connection. You're with people that make you wither and hide and feel insecure. You are with the wrong people. And I know in high school, friends are everything. Friends are more important than family. They define the social structure and pecking order in a high school. I totally get that. It's going to be like that for the rest of your life, believe it or not. If it's hard to be around people, you're with the wrong group of people. When relationships work, they work because they click, and the reason why they click is because you can be the real you. They don't make you feel inferior. You're making yourself feel inferior by hanging out with people and pretending you're not yourself. So every time you're hanging out with a group of people and you act like a chameleon, you're actually invalidating yourself, because your own actions are telling you you're not good enough to just be yourself around these people. So the only way to deal with this is either show up with that group of people and be your full self. And every time you think something inferior, just knock that thought out of your mind, say what you really believe, be interested in what you're really interested in, or the easier route, honestly, drop the popular kids and find your people. Because I'm going to tell you something else that's true about life. People peak in high school, and you do not want to be one of them. You put priorities on things that don't matter, and that's what makes people popular, that they are good at the things that really don't matter in life when you get older. So look, if you feel like Alan does and you constantly find yourself changing or chasing people that you can't be yourself around, stop it. That's a terrible habit. You're a people pleaser, and that's the thing that you need to deal with. You need to find your people, and your people are the kind of people that the second you hang out with them, you don't feel like less of yourself, you feel like more of yourself. You don't feel like you gotta hide or be somebody else. You feel like you wanna express yourself and show up and be more of yourself. That's the indication that you have found your people. And promise me, Alan, when I tell you, the second you stop hanging out with these kids that make you feel like a chameleon and you start paying attention to the people that make you feel energized, happy, and alive, you will no longer be a chameleon, you will be yourself. For those of you that are listening to this and you're in a dead-end job or a job that you hate, or you're at a point in your career where you want to pivot and you're thinking about starting a business, and now I'm starting to trigger you into thinking, do I quit my job? Do I keep my job? Do I quit my job? Do I keep my job while I build this business? Adam Grant, the youngest tenured professor at University of Pennsylvania. He's a professor at Wharton School of Business. He's a best-selling author. He has a really cool piece of research. People who keep their day job while starting a company are 33% less likely to fail than the ones who go all in. Let me say that statistic in a more positive way. 66% of people are more likely to succeed when they keep their day job. And here's why. When you go all in too soon on a new venture, you put all the financial pressure on your new venture. The best thing to do is to keep your day job and work at nights on your new venture so you mitigate risk. You should also do that with a job search until it gets to the point where you've built momentum in your job search, where the confidence that you feel and the financial runway that you have and the time that you need to keep the momentum going is greater than the stress of your job. So again, back to Ashley's question. If you're in a shitty job and you hate it and it's killing you mentally, and you're wondering, when do I quit? When do I quit? When do I quit? You quit when A, you have a financial runway that you're confident in, so you've done the planning so that you can afford to quit and take those 40 to 50 hours a week to spend 80% of your time networking. Remember the research, 80% of jobs are not found online, and 1/3 of all hires are from an internal referrer. You got that? So 80% of your time should be spent networking. So that's when you quit your job. Or if the mental health damage of your current job is so bad you can't even look for a new job. When it gets that desperate, it's time to quit and make things desperate and give yourself the mental health break so that you can absolutely find that new job. But remember, it's all about networking. Louise writes on Facebook, I love this topic. I left a very toxic job a year ago through networking, found a job working with amazing people. Networking can feel overwhelming at first. That's right. That's why the way you start networking is write down a paper list. Take out a blank piece of paper and write down everybody that you know on that list. And then one by one, you're going to send them a short email and you're just going to say, hey, I'm looking for a new job. Don't worry, I'm not asking you for a job. I'm just looking for advice. Would you mind spending 5 minutes on the phone with me? Can I call you later today? You're going to call them. You're going to tell them what industry you're interested in. You're going to ask them, is there anybody that you know that you would recommend that I speak with? And do you have any advice for me? What would you be doing if you were in my situation? Places you would look, meetings you would go to. Ask for advice. People love to give advice. And then just ask them to give you your friend's email. You send the email with them on copy. That way you don't have to be stalking your friends. And that's it. Just ask for phone calls. Just ask for phone calls. You don't need to meet with people in order to get them to help you. And oftentimes, scheduling time to meet with them is the hardest part. Getting them on the phone for 5 minutes, the easiest part. You're just asking for advice, and anyone that you know in a particular vertical, healthcare, restaurants, wellness, yoga teachers, anybody in television that you know of, anybody that is in publishing that you know of. And then as you refine your job search and you keep building things out, then what you're going to do is you're going to start asking about specific companies. That's what you're going to do. You got it? But your next job, the one that you're going to love, is going to come based on a referral. You got it? How do you get a job abroad? Exact same way. You use your contacts with where you're living now to start networking for a job in the place that you want to go to. I'm looking for a job in Switzerland. Do you know anybody in Switzerland that I could get on Skype with or get on Zoom with? Our daughter wants to work in Spain this summer. And so we are at the moment having her talk to a bunch of people that either lived in Spain or worked in Spain. My brother-in-law happens to do a lot of business in Spain. And so we're starting with the people that we know here, and the vertical we're talking about is Spain. You do it the exact same way. All right, great. Any other questions, Tracy? If you have any other questions, ask them real quick because I've got to wrap this up. I'm in Spain. Hi, Miguel. How are you? If you have any other questions, ask them real quick. V9 Body. I want to quit my job in a toxic environment and work on my business with my husband, but I'm afraid of telling my dad because he got me the job. Here's what I know. Your dad is more interested in you being happy than the fact that he got you that job. And by the way, he didn't get you that job. He got you the connection and you got the job. So what you should do is you should call your dad and you should say, hey, Dad, I love you. I can't thank you enough for helping me get my current job. And that's why I wanted you to be the first one to know. I'm really thinking about leaving and working full time with my husband because that would be what would make me super happy. And I know that's what you want for me. And I wanted to tell you first, since you were the one that was instrumental in getting me this job. Is there anything that you want to say about how you would like me to give my notice or, anything, any opinion that you have about this? I just want to give you a chance to kind of say anything. If you're excited, if you're nervous about me giving notice, just have a conversation with him. That's it. That's it. Let's see. What's my take on ageism? I'm 51. I'm 50. I think that you can, and we're writing a book called Think This, Not That. I'm so excited. It's coming out at the end of the year. And I believe that the only thing that is going to inhibit your ability to get an incredible job is your mindset. And so if you're already thinking this thing that's negative, that, I'm 51, I'm old, I'm this, I'm the other thing, you got to get control of your mindset. You got to stop thinking this and you got to think that thing that's positive, which is 51. I have so much experience. This is awesome. You got to flip the script on what you're saying, because if you're already going into a job search with a negative mindset, you're thinking this stuff that's totally negative, you got to think that stuff that's totally positive. You got to push it to your advantage. You got to understand something. Anybody that doesn't hire you because they think you're too old is not a work environment that you want to be in anyway. And so you got to look at that as a gift, and you got to keep your own mindset in check. Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed that video, by God, please subscribe, because I don't want you to miss a thing. Thank you so much for being here. We've got so much amazing stuff coming. Thank you so much for sending this stuff to your friends and your family. I love you. We create these videos for you, so make sure you subscribe. Mwah.